I'm Teller County Sheriff Jason Mikesell. I have good news. And here's the good news. 45 minutes ago, we were able to get the last person out of the 1,000-foot level of the mine. I'm confident to say that we really had a lot of good resources here from the state of Colorado. And with me is Dan Gibbs from the state of Colorado. This is Senator Mark Baisley. This is Commissioners Dan Williams, Eric Stone, and Bob Campbell. On behalf of all of us, our first responders worked tirelessly through the night, our firemen, our EMS. The state of Colorado, and speaking with the governor of Colorado, Jared Polis, he sent us as much needed personnel as we could get. That included folks that were able to make sure that the rescue operation dealing with the elevator system was working properly. So that took inspectors to make sure that the elevator is going to work properly. It took MSHAR, mine safety crews, and through all of that, we were able to put together a plan that worked. And that plan was to bring them up through the elevator system. We had other plans that were in place, and luckily we didn't have to use any of those. These folks, we did have a briefing with them to explain to them what was happening, because they were in this tunnel and didn't know that any of this was going on. So it was a shock to them to know that they were actually part of a national media thing that was going on. The one thing I will tell you too is that we still are speaking with the family of the person that was lost in this through a tragic accident, and just understand we'll give that information when we can. But I'd like to open it up to any questions you might have as to anything that we've done.
Sheriff, can you clarify any more injuries from the 12 being rescued out around 7 o'clock, and again, any more fatalities?
So there was no one else injured. They all came up very safely, 4 at a time, so we could get them through the surface. They're all in good spirits. We fed them pizza. That's what they wanted. There's a good news story at the end of this, and that's really what we were hoping for today, and our prayers are with, and just the trial that we were able to go through with the first responders to make sure this happened was great. I will tell you the mine owner was instrumental in making sure that equipment was able to get everyone up to the surface. So I just want to put my thanks out to him as well.
Is the body
Yes, ma'am.
of the deceased still in the mine?
No, ma'am. We've recovered the body of the person that was that died in the tragic accident, so we're taking care of that. Yes.
Do you know what caused that initial mechanical failure that you talked about earlier today?
We're unsure at this time. It's going to take a full investigation to know what really went wrong. Accidents happen when you're dealing with this type of machinery. So, but when we have more, we'll give you more on that.
Are you able to explain then how you were able to get it back working?
Yes, ma'am. So when the elevator came up to the surface for the first group that was brought, because they were stuck halfway, right? We were able to get the engineers to look over it, make sure that there was no debris underneath it that would cause more of an issue. And we're able to check and make sure the cables and the housings were right. And so once they were able to identify that there were no other issues that could cause a problem with the equipment, they were able to lower it back down without anyone in it, and then bring it back up to make sure that it was going to run correctly. And then we decided on a plan to go ahead and do that, bring them back up. So, yes, ma'am.
So, Sheriff, you said that they were kind of unaware of what was all going on up here. What did the folks that were down there at that 1,000-foot level, what exactly did they know was going on at the time?
What we told them at the time is that there was an elevator issue. Right? So they believed there was just an elevator issue, and there was. There was an issue with an elevator, and we didn't know what else. So in speaking with them afterwards, they were very thankful that we didn't tell them, because I think that would have caused a little more of an angst about how do we get out of here. So it went well.
How long were those 12 individuals down there?
I believe, I think we were about 6 hours now into this, so right around 6 hours.
Sheriff, can you describe the conditions down there? You know, we met with you earlier talking about the hopes to get them out tonight. What would it have been like, you know, as the temperature continues to drop down there, just working to get them out as quickly as possible?
Well, here's the thing. When you're in the earth that deep, your temperatures don't really change. So the biggest thing is they had water. I think if we'd have had this operation go longer, we would have been able to lower them something on a rope system. But thankfully, we didn't have to do that. So.
Can you say who was in the group? Like, were there adults? Were there children? Can you describe who was in that 12?
Yeah, this 12 were all adults. Yeah, and they're all people that came here from out of state to partake in a trip down to a mine to see what it was like. But they're all adults.
And are you able to say at this time how the person died? Was it related to the elevator malfunction?
I can tell you that it was related to a malfunction of the elevator or a tragic accident, right? There's not a lot more I can give you because I really don't know. I think the investigation will kind of give us our answers, but that's something that somebody that's a lot smarter than me is going to have to figure out how that thing works. So.
And Sheriff, the investigation into what happened with the mine, do we expect it to be closed for a period of time? I know it's seasonal operation, but what is it going to be like inspecting everything before it is reopened to the public and more people are sent back down?
Right now I know that OSHA has to get involved, mine safety has to get involved. All those folks are going to be looking into how that works. I know that it was taken offline tonight, obviously for those reasons, until they can find out for sure what is needed or if there is any other issues. This was actually the end of the season for this company that does this. So fortunately for them, it happened at the very end of the season. So my hope is that they'll be back up and running next year, but we'll see how this goes forward.
Sheriff, in a long day for your office, what is kind of your message to the first responders from surrounding communities that came out to help?
Well, I'm glad you asked. And here's the thing: we had a rescue organization from Colorado Springs Fire Department who did an amazing job with a Plan B and a Plan C for me. We had the Cripple Creek Fire Department. We had ambulances from the Cripple Creek area. We've had state mine workers, state emergency management here with us, our emergency management, our deputies, our police departments from Cripple Creek, all of those folks working to make one plan that would ultimately get everybody out safely.
So was this the last day of the season, or it'll be shut down for the rest of this season?
I believe this weekend was the last day of their season, right, before they shut down for the winter. So.
Can you talk about how the training of your emergency responders maybe contributed to the quicker recovery of these individuals?
Well, I think that's a big question because there's a lot of first responders coming in. There's a lot of state agencies coming in. And here's the thing: in Colorado, we train every day to make those decisions on first responders and safety and getting people to safety. And you saw it work. That's what I saw today. How often do you have a senator, you have the state of Colorado here, you've got commissioners here, they did an emergency declaration. We did everything that we possibly could to make sure they were safe. And at the end of the day, those plans worked, and people got up safely. And working with the owner, who was just as much of a first responder to this as we were, they did a great job in making sure people came to the surface alive and safe.
And Sheriff, I don't know if this is better for a commissioner, but just talking about the family-owned company. Last time this incident happened was a very long time ago. As you said, accidents happen, but the roots that this mine has in the community and continuing to bring in visitors from across the country.
Absolutely. Dan, you want to?
Yeah, thank you for that. So just to reiterate, our mayors were here earlier today. You saw the entire city council having Senator Basie here. We've got Director of Reclamation and Mining Safety. We've got Department of Natural Resources, Dan Gibbs. Thank you, sir. Governor's talked to us twice. He just talked to us before we left here. He does intend on calling the victim's family at an appropriate time. And so just a real synergy there. Yeah, it's a local family business. Without getting any details, you can imagine the victim is probably local as well. And so, and by the way, when they came up, as Jason said, folks were very good about the surprise. They're wearing shorts, they're looking around trying to figure out why we're all here. But EMTs were there, so they were looked over by medical personnel. And then we went in a discreet group of the folks that you see here to talk to them. And I would just ask for your discretion, as I always do. Most of them are going to stay here in town. They were actually brought out by escort a few minutes ago, and you're allowed to talk to them. Obviously, they're free citizens, and I'll probably talk to you. But what we noticed is their phones started blowing up as soon as they got up here. So they're now absorbing what's happening. And as an old combat vet, I can tell you it takes a while for that to set in. And so if you do talk to them, just have a little grace for them. And for those who are watching, who are praying, we had lots of people praying, and just had a great outcome this time. So just want to thank these folks here. And with your permission, I mean, either one of you, Dan, would you like to say anything from the state of Colorado level? Or
Thank you, Commissioner. We're just glad to partner with Teller County, and just amazing to see all the different partners come to the table. For the state of Colorado, we had the Division of Reclamation, Mining and Safety. We have Michael Cunningham here. We had Department of Labor and Employment and their mine inspector team come here, and then the Office of Emergency Management here as well. So we're just so grateful that the outcome overall was very successful, and our hearts are with the person that died.
'em? Mark, you want to say anything?
Certainly, thank you, Sheriff. I think what we saw here tonight was a master class of how this ought to be done for the communities to come together and to be led by someone like Sheriff Mikesell, who did a phenomenal job of keeping everyone together and instructed, and everyone knew their part, and everyone came together from around the community. So while we all need to remain mindful of the family of the person who died, there's a lot of smiles at the end here. So there's a big happy ending to an otherwise tragic day. And anyway, just great appreciation for all the first responders who were trained and trained and trained and came at the ready. And yeah, plan A, plan B, plan C was all ready to go, and it worked just the way it should have. So kudos to you, Sheriff Mikesell. Thank you for everything.
Sheriff, the last question I had for you, you mentioned 2 children involved in that initial rescue. The
Yeah.
traumatic experience for them, the adults, what kind of mental health resources, or how's the state, your agency, going to assist them as they process this situation, what they've been through?
Yeah, so we actually brought all that attention to them immediately through our MAPS program, and then also through clinical advisors, and then we also brought in a special team for that. So we tried to, because it's on anything like this, you want to get people to them as soon as possible. And it really is a big concern of ours, is to make sure everybody is, especially at a traumatic situation like this with children. You know, it's one of those things, you tear up a little bit when you're dealing with kids that have to go through these types of things. I'll tell you, that's one of the things that tugs my heartstrings. But they're safe, and you know, that's all we can hope for right now, and they are getting the help. Those families do have the numbers for all of our clinical folks that they can keep helping them through this if they need so. I will tell you, the city of Cripple Creek and the mayor's office and then their city council got hotel rooms for everyone if they wanted to stay and go through this here. So they've been given hotel rooms, they're staying in the area, and I'm very appreciative for that, because that's part of what we needed for them.
I had a question about 1986. What exactly happened then? Was it something to the degree of someone also dying?
Well, 1986 was a long time ago, but there was nobody that died. I believe that something had happened to where there was 2 people that were trapped in the elevator for a certain amount of time, but really, I don't know for certain.
Sheriff,
Yes, sir.
Apologize if this was answered earlier, but as far as the person who's deceased, and I understand that only a certain amount can be kind of said about it, were they brought to the surface and the body recovered with those other 11 individuals earlier, or were they outside of the elevator? Like, where, I guess, how was that body recovered?
That person was recovered on the first initial elevator when we brought it up. Yes. Yes. Anyone else have any questions?
Did you say how long that elevator was stuck in place before coming back up?
You know, ma'am, I don't have the actual information on that one. I don't think it was very long. I think it was very quick to try to get them to the surface. One of the things you have to understand too, it's coming from 1,000 feet, right? On this initial, how we put down an elevator, it was very slow to make sure that we didn't hit anything, there wasn't any debris in the area or anything else. On bringing it back up, we do the same thing, right? We're bringing it up very slow, with everybody watching and making sure that we're not having any issues. So there was a lot of people that were putting eyes on it to make sure, and it was brought up as fast as we could, but you know, as slow as we needed to. So thank you, folks. I really appreciate all of you, and hopefully I won't see you anymore tonight.
Thank you, and great
All
job.
right, thank you.
Sheriff.
Thank you.